Yo, Rocco B Scotty G. It is Friday, January 26th, 2024, and it is time for Pro Football Uncensored. This is Naked Bootleg.
This is a bootleg. Then he comes right back with another bootleg.
Scotty boy, how you doing, baby? How you doing today?
How you doing? I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Are you excited for this weekend?
It's going to be a hell of a weekend, man. We got some really good matchups coming up.
I cannot wait. We got two epic championships games coming up. I'll tell you that. Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco. But I'm Rocco B, the longest reigning heavyweight champion in the history of Louisville, Kentucky. And back in our beautiful, lovely hometown of Toms River, New Jersey. The stud muffin of all stud muffins, baby. Scotty G. And we are here today to roll out. It is Naked Bootleg time. Scotty, what are we getting into today? We're going to go coaches. We're going to start off with coaches, right? Real quick.
Yeah, let's get into the coaches, man. We got some interesting moves that are happening, some shocking moves as far as I'm concerned. So let's get into that to start. Yeah, I think.
What jersey am I wearing today? Does anybody know?
Is that a Colts jersey or
number 4 for the Colts? Does anybody remember who it is?
Nah.
What's it say on my back here? HARB. Jim fucking Harbaugh, baby. Do we call it the whole time?
What a waste of money that was. You got a Jim Harbaugh jersey?
I loved Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was one of my first
You're full of shit.
When I was a kid.
There is no way as a little boy you're like, Daddy, I love this Jim Harbaugh guy. There's no way.
You know how?
How?
So when I was a kid back in Jersey, I was about 8 years old. It was 1995. And a couple of my favorites at the time, Troy Aikman, Kerry Collins, if you can believe that.
I do believe that at least. They were at least were good in the NFL.
Jim Harbaugh. You know why?
Why?
Because I watched as a kid, I believe I was 8 years old, the AFC Championship game, 1995. I believe it was January of 96, actually, as far as the date goes. Jim Harbaugh and the Indianapolis Colts played Neil O'Donnell and the Pittsburgh Steelers in Three Rivers Stadium. Hell of a game. They played on that fucking turf where it was a friggin' concrete and it was freezing out. And Harbaugh that year was the comeback player of the year. They came away with that game like almost that close. That close. He throws a Hail Mary at the end of the game that should have been caught by Sean Dawkins in the end zone. And I'll never forget it to this day. I was 8 years old, and that's how I first fell in love with Jim Harbaugh. And that's the God's honest truth. And I'll tell you,
I don't believe it. This sounds like you got drunk one night, watched some NFL rerun game of the fucking late 90s, and we're like, oh, it's Jim Harbaugh, the guy that just coached the 49ers in Michigan.
Unbelievable. But I'll tell you, Jim Harbaugh is the new head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. And I'm telling you what, we called it since what?
Yeah, well, this was the least shocking move. I mean, I think everybody called this like halfway through his Michigan tenure this year.
Piece of cake. I mean, this is going to be fantastic. Okay, this is going to be absolutely, positively huge for Justin Herbert. Okay, and now he's got no excuse. Justin Herbert has no excuse. Without Kellen Moore now, like Kellen Moore was supposed to be the big deal. Herbert's going to be a 5,000-yard passer, all this shit. No, Herbert shockingly couldn't stay healthy.
Now,
and Mike Williams got hurt and shockingly couldn't stay healthy. So Herbert has a lot of proving left to do, especially after they paid him.
I agree, but real quick, if you get Jim Harbaugh, which they did obviously, but if you get Jim Harbaugh there and Herbert doesn't succeed,
yeah.
What does that mean?
And now go Chargers, go.
That's really what I think it means. And to be honest with you, I think Herbert he's got to be a candidate to get shipped out somehow if he doesn't work in this offense. They're
not shipping him out. There's no way.
Could it be a scenario between like it was with the Niners and where you had, your Alex Smith and a guy like Kaepernick, who they let Kaepernick play his style of game, super cheap option for them to throw in there. Do they find that in LA? Do they
I
have
think
somebody like
if
that?
Herbert, I think if we're talking about Herbert's like 8th or 9th season there, maybe even 7th season there, but like they just paid him. There's no way. They'll at least give him another 2 or 3 years to prove that he's not the guy. And I think Herbert's done enough to keep him around. He's just underperformed on what his expectations are.
No, I'm not saying this year. I'm saying you got to give him 2 years, of course. But this job isn't automatically Herbert's to just keep for the next 5-6 years length of his contract, because if you can't succeed with Harbaugh, then you ain't the guy.
I think this is a great move, though. I mean, I think this makes the Chargers legitimately a threat in the AFC if Harbaugh can do what he's done seemingly everywhere else. So we'll see.
I wonder how he's going to feel about playing second fiddle in a stadium. Because they always will. Harbaugh.
Not with Harbaugh there. It won't be second fiddle for long.
I don't know, man. I still think the Rams are probably the team in LA, especially if McVay stays. But they got a lot of issues. We're going to get into the offseason stuff, of course, in a couple weeks here. But I don't think it's so surefire that he can turn this thing around in just 1 year. They have a ton of big contracts.
I give him 2 years. I think the salary cap's an issue over there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's going to take. I think it's going to take 2 years. And the best part about that is that now you're going to give Andy Reid the shot to retire. You're going to give potentially the Raiders to just keep crumbling like they do, and the Broncos. We all know the kind of mess they're in. So
and you give a year for the Jets to win it before you guys come in and start.
There you go. You're exactly right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now this news came out also, as far as you want to talk about, probably the lightest news of hiring a head coach I think I've ever seen. We barely, and I'm talking fucking barely, heard about the Carolina Panthers hiring their new coach, Dave Canales, who was Baker Mayfield's offensive coordinator this past year in Tampa Bay. You're going to tell me that they decided to hire Canales and make it official like 6 hours after Harbaugh got hired? I got a feeling that they did that on purpose. Very coincidental that they do that when the biggest news of the offseason comes out same day, because Carolina doesn't want to come out and have to answer the questions. How'd this guy get a job? How was it this guy?
To me, this isn't shocking. Is it shocking to you?
Brian Flores, or a guy like someone with experience.
Rock, was this shocking to you?
I told you the whole time, Scotty, that this was going to be a first time.
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's why this is not shocking at all. It was going to be a guy that's either unproven or have never done it before, because no one wants to deal with that owner. Nobody.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, the things we heard about Frank Wright being over there are horrific. Like, supposedly after every game or every week, he would have to sit down with the owner and explain himself to like why certain plays didn't work out, why they lost, like what happened on this situation. Like, that's ridiculous. It's like the all-time micromanagement, and you got Tepper's a new owner there. It's like, who the fuck wants to deal with that? So there was no way they were going to get a vet. And I mean, anyone that wants any bit of control and probably deserves the control is probably not going to go there. You're going to get a guy that wants to go there, that sees, hey, this is an opportunity for me to elevate my resume, elevate my career, and, maybe do something. Because they do have some talent over there. They got to fix a lot of things over there, but there's some talent over there.
Yeah, I think they're in deep shit because of Bryce Young, and I think the fact that they traded their first pick, this year, and
they need an offensive line. Give them an offensive line. And give them a running back that's not Miles Sanders, and let me see what they do. All right.
Yeah, and then what I would do is I also would put Bryce Young on a table. Right now, I'm not talking in any type of Mr. Masseuse, Deshaun Watson kind of table, but I would get him on a table. I'd tell him to put his arms over his head,
get one of those cranks,
stretch out his fucking feet as far as he can, and I would put some cuffs on the feet, put some cuffs on the wrists. and I'd say, hey, Panthers defensive line, you take the feet. Offensive line, you take the wrist and fucking pull as hard as you can and make sure that this guy gets to at least 6'3", 6'4" before we play next season. That's what I'd say, because the guy can't see over the fucking line. Okay. And the fact is that you can't now cover up in the NFL playing with Alabama when you have stud on top of stud on top of stud at every position. Now you come to Carolina, that is probably, we'd have to think about this maybe for another 5 seconds, but I'll tell you, I think they are the most barren team of talent in the league. Okay. And you're going to tell this guy who's fucking 5'10" if he's lucky and 180 pounds if he's lucky to overcome all that shit? The fuck out of here.
They need help. I told you they need help, but I don't think they're in as bad a situation as you do.
Deep shit. And this guy Canales will probably be there for about a year and a half. And Tepper will get rid of his ass too. But now, talk about a guy who finally gets another opportunity. Raheem Morris, not Bill Belichick.
This is shocking to me.
Not Mike Vrabel. Not Dan Quinn. Of course, he ain't going back here. Not some of these dudes like, Brandon Staley, who just got fired. Ron Rivera, who just got fired. Brian Flores, who's a hot name.
I think Brian Flores is still going through a lawsuit, though. So, like I said, I think he's blackballed. They probably also want to, probably no team wants to attach themselves to a potential lawsuit that's coming down on the NFL.
I agree. But now Raheem Morris is now the Atlanta Falcons.
This is shocking to me.
Unreal. So they get rid of a guy in the current landscape of the NFL. You know all the shit I'm talking about, offense and offense and offense. They get rid of a guy like Arthur Smith, who, I don't really want to get started into him. You're going to tell me that they bring in a guy now who's a defensive mind with all those studs on offense, and they got a great defense too. They definitely do. But they need someone to develop a quarterback and to get the quarterback to get the fucking ball to all these dudes that can make plays. And that's Raheem Morris. Okay. Let's see who he hires as offensive coordinator. That's what I'm excited about. Because if it's someone that's a conservative OC or a first-time OC even maybe, Atlanta, Falcons fans, I'll tell you what, I feel sorry for you.
So he used to be the interim coach there. And I thought he coached for the 49ers, but I guess I was just thinking Atlanta because he was in red. But I know the owner there. What's his name? Arthur Blank. I know the owner there had made comments about letting him walk after his interim season. Kind of like the situation with the Raiders when they let their guy go. So I think there was a little bit of that, if we can get that guy back, let's get him back.
Yeah.
Supposedly his interviews, he had 2 interviews. Supposedly they were incredible. Supposedly that report's coming out. And I guess, what are you going to say? You just hired him. You're obviously going to probably leak good things, but you don't always hear Callahan got hired in Tennessee. They didn't say anything about his interviews. Canales, whatever the fuck his name is in Carolina, nothing was leaked about his interviews. So supposedly he had incredible interviews, came very prepared and whatnot. And I just want to say, in the past, when there had been shocking hires, such as John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, they also had incredible interviews. So this could be a guy we look back on 5 years and be like, oh, that was the easiest hire in the world because that guy was incredible. But I want to say is, from the outside looking in, if you're going to hire Raheem Morris, why are we not hiring Mike Vrabel? Now, Belichick, I would have hired Belichick, but Belichick I can understand because a lot of people understand, or a lot of people believe that after 2 years, he's probably retiring. And it's kind of hard because you'd think in 2 years, that's probably when the culture's really setting in, and then you got to hit the reset button. Sure. So I could understand some people being hesitant on that. Also, it from all reports coming out that are saying Belichick also wants control like he had in New England, and a lot of owners are not willing to do that. But if you go Raheem Morris route, why not Mike Vrabel? Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense. And
I don't buy.
That's why it's shocking to me.
I don't buy Belichick wants to take over the whole franchise. I just don't buy it. I think he's waiting for a job that has a nice blue shiny star. But I'm going to tell you what I think with Atlanta, which doesn't make any sense, is that I understand Tennessee, I understand Carolina, I understand maybe Seattle, all these other teams that have younger owners. Arthur Blank is 82 years old. He wants to see a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He had one before Kyle Shanahan fucking blew it. You're not going to hire Bill Belichick? You're not going to hire the guy that could probably turn your fucking franchise around the fastest? Come on. I don't like this move, but this move reeks of stuff I don't want to get into. But I don't like it. I don't believe that this was the best hire. I think Raheem Morris is a fantastic coach. I don't believe this is a fit for an 82-year-old owner who wants to see a Super Bowl next year.
I don't know. Is he a fantastic coach? I mean, I hear good things about him, but why is he not getting a head coaching job yet?
Well, honestly, it's because he's on the defensive side of the ball. Okay, so
there's a lot of defensive coaches, though,
but there's not a lot of defensive head coaches, right? That are succeeding.
No, there's a lot of defensive head coaches. Are
they succeeding? Look at the playoffs. 11 of the 14 coaches offensive.
I understand. So, you know I understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to explain to you is, in the last 10 years that he's been in the league, there's been plenty of trial and errors with defensive head coaches. Why has he not been one of them? Does that
he has
raise a red flag?
He coached with the Buccaneers and they sucked. You know,
he was the head coach of the Buccaneers.
Yeah, he was a head coach of the Buccaneers.
What years?
I believe it was who was his quarterback? Was it Jameis or Josh Freeman? Who was his quarterback when he coached in Tampa Bay? I think may have been
2009 to 2011.
Josh Freeman, I believe, was the quarterback, and he didn't pan out. Right, so you know you need an offensive coach to work with these young fucking quarterbacks. I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. I don't like this move by Atlanta at all. And I'll tell you, I really wonder now if it's not teams are passing on Belichick. I think Belichick knows where he wants to go. I do, and we'll get into that a little later.
Where do you think it is?
I think it's Dallas.
I don't think.
I think he really wants to go to Dallas. I think he knows now. I mean, do you think you think it's coincidental? You think it's really coincidental that Jerry Jones comes out and says, we're not giving this guy McCarthy an extension, and all of a sudden now Belichick doesn't get hired? Come on. So there's something there, right?
I think you probably got a better shot of him going to the Jets than you got of him going to the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, Woody's there, so I know that's not happening. But here's now a question I got for you. After all that head coaching news, and we got to move on here in a minute, but Atlanta doesn't take Mike Vrabel. We got 2 jobs left. We got Seattle and we got Washington. Okay. Now, there are people that are talking right now and making a big fucking thing about the Kansas City Chiefs. What happens if Andy Reid retires, right? And we'll get into that in a second. But let's just look at the 2 open jobs right now. You see Belichick being in Seattle or Washington? I don't. So Bill Belichick's not going to coach this year, right? And I don't think he's going to Kansas City. I know that's the hot take right now. He's just going to
can we address that real quick?
Sure.
Andy Reid doesn't do anything but football. Literally, his life is football. He's got his sons or one of his sons on the coaching staff, I believe. Mm-hmm. What is he going to do? I get he's 65, but
maybe his health's bad. I don't know. But
honestly, Rock, he's in the middle of a fucking dynasty.
No, I wouldn't leave. No, I'm just saying I wouldn't leave. But people think he is. You know, if you listen to the Glazers of the world and these fucking guys who think that they know everything, even though they're connected the closest possible. But how are they wrong so many times? I have no fucking clue. But the fact is that I don't think he's retiring. You know, there's a shot, but I don't think he's gonna. And if he does, let's just say he surprises me and he does retire, Belichick's not going there.
Why not?
They're not taking. Brett Veach is one of the best GMs in the league. He's not sharing anything with Belichick, and I don't think Belichick wants to go there either. He doesn't want to follow in Reid's footsteps.
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine?
Oh, it's a great imagine. It's
no. Just think about this for a minute.
Yeah,
breaks Shula's record with wins, then wins. I mean, how many has Mahomes got? 2. So he would have to probably coach for another 6 to 8 years, which I don't think's happening. But if he just said, fuck it, I'm going to coach till I'm 80, and he wins 5 or 6 Super Bowls in that time with Mahomes, beats Brady, breaks Shula, holy shit. You got the 2 top quarterbacks of all time, both linked to Belichick.
Incredible. I like I've said to you, in previous episodes, Mahomes has got to prove it to me Sunday. And then Mahomes has got to prove it to me when not only Travis Kelce's not there, but then he's
Mahomes has
also
to prove. What does Mahomes have to prove to anybody?
that he can win Super Bowls without these guys, is what I'm saying.
He did it last
Brady
year.
proved it. No,
He
didn't
did it
do
last
without
year.
Kelce. I said Kelce and Andy Reid. Yes.
So
he
wait.
can do it. He proved that he can do it without Tyreek Hill, and that was fucking phenomenal. He did that with a receiving core who was led by Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay, phenomenal, and they beat the Eagles, which I love.
Brady's never done it without like a top 5 defense.
Doesn't matter.
Besides
Brady
without having Gronk.
Brady did it without Belichick. Brady did it without the Patriots way, the Patriots defense, the fucking Patriots weather. He did it without him, right? So Belichick apparently can't win.
Their third receiver was the greatest tight end in history.
Bro, Belichick couldn't win without Brady. Couldn't even win. Okay, didn't even get to the playoffs without Brady. And Mahomes. Now, this will be his first year. That's what I'm saying. I want to see it.
Mahomes doesn't do anything. Just getting here is incredible.
First year where he's on the road and all that.
Oh,
and then
he won.
Maybe like 2 years down the road, I'm saying, can he keep it up without Kelce, without potentially Andy Reid? That's what I'd like to see. But Belichick to the Chiefs, I think, is absurd, and it's not happening. Okay, so with Seattle and Washington, right? Everyone is putting Dan Quinn in Seattle. I don't know how they can't.
I like Vrabel there. I like everyone.
Everyone put Belichick in Atlanta.
So I think Dan Quinn fucked himself on that playoff game. That was a shit showing on defense.
Dan Quinn is going to come back and be the Cowboys defensive coordinator. I'm calling it. Okay,
I think so too.
So I think, like you said, I think Vrabel is the best spot for Seattle. Now, who does that leave for Washington? I believe it's going to be Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson is the guy they're waiting on. That
I agree.
When Detroit's out, he's going to Washington. So they got to develop the quarterback there that they're going to pick and all that.
I wouldn't even
a fantastic move for Seattle.
I wouldn't even be shocked if Seattle wanted to go like a different route and went Aaron Glenn. I wouldn't be shocked on that either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can see I see a defensive guy going in there though.
Seattle's going to be a crapshoot to me. I think it is going to be. It could be a surprise. And if it's not Dan Quinn, which I think Dan Quinn is going to ultimately now go back to Dallas again. I think it's going to be Vrabel. I do. But let's just speak into a world that Belichick, Dan Quinn, and Mike Vrabel don't get a fucking job. Could you believe that? Who would have bet that?
It's great for the Jets next year.
Coaching season. You're exactly right.
Great for the Jets.
Let's talk about some other shit coaches that also head coaches that have been canned this year. Arthur Smith, old Artie boy, and Brandon Staley, and then of course Riverboat Ron. So where do you see those dudes ending up? You think
Riverboat? They're saying Riverboat. Oh no, I forgot. Vic Fangio. They're saying going to Philly. That's another one.
Fangio went to Philly. Yes.
Yeah. So that's another big move. I think that's a great.
About those assholes.
I think that's a great move, though. I think Vic Fangio is a solid defensive coordinator,
even
though apparently,
can he fix Jalen Hurts' knees?
Apparently, everybody hated him in Miami, so we'll see how that pans out. But I think he's a good defensive coach.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera, I don't know. I don't think anyone really looks to pick him up. Staley, there's rumors about him going to Miami. I think that's probably a good fit.
Green Bay was another one.
Green Bay is another one. He has a relationship with the whole Shanahan tree, which includes LaFleur,
correct,
and Mike McDonald.
Yep.
I mean, I could even see him. McDaniel, sorry. I could even see him joining the Niners staff. Maybe not as a OC, but as something else over there. Arthur Smith, I have no clue where he goes, but I know,
where he goes. What's the big rumor? Give me the big rumor first.
I haven't heard any big rumor.
Going right in the fucking toilet. That's where he's going. Fucking Arthur Smith.
I don't know what you have an issue with Arthur Smith. It's because you have some kind of infatuation with fucking Jahmyr Gibbs, where you're upset that Bijan Robinson, that you're upset that he didn't run the ball more because of your fantasy football.
I know. It's got a little to do with that, but also if you watch Atlanta Falcons games, the guy, and also here's the biggest piece, right? This guy had to know that he was on a hot seat this year. Had to. It's his third year. They haven't had a winning season. They spent a boatload of cash bringing in free agents, especially on the defensive side. They've drafted well, super well on the fucking offense. They don't use Kyle Pitts. Okay, forget about Bijan Robinson. They don't use Kyle Pitts. They really don't use Drake London as a number one. And this guy decided, old Artie boy, on your boy McAfee show, that's what he calls himself, Artie. Give me a fucking break. Old Arthur Smith, okay, put his eggs, all of his eggs, in the basket of Desmond Ridder.
That's the problem he made.
And then he said, no, that's not bad enough. Then he
That-
said,
that's the
hey,
biggest problem.
Desi, this is your job, bro. Don't worry about it. Hey, listen, whatever you do, Desi, I know you're undersized. I know you can't see over the line. I know you fucking get rattled as soon as somebody comes in the way of your fucking feet. I get it, Desi. It's no big deal. But we love you. You're going to be the guy. It seemed like 27 seconds later, there's Taylor Heineke in the fucking game. You don't lie to your quarterback. You don't lie to your team to their face and say, this is what we're going to do, and then you don't do it. He's a piece of shit. And then he actually went back to Desmond Ridder. That's how bad this fucking guy was.
Ridder played bad. You have to make a change.
Doesn't know, but you can't tell the guy that we're going to go to you or we're going to keep you no matter what. He didn't get hurt. He just took him out.
I don't know. I have no evidence that says he was going to keep him no matter what happened. I don't know what world you're living in that a coach tells a quarterback, no matter what happens, you lose every game, we're keeping you in. That doesn't happen. It was
out there.
He said he was keeping him in. He played him the next game, and then he benched him. He kept him in way too long, and then they went back to him to give him another chance. Desmond Ridder had all the chances in the world to succeed. He didn't do it. He's not a very good quarterback. Now,
of course he's not.
Is that Arthur Smith's fault? Partly, yeah. And guess what? If you have a bad quarterback, you're not getting the ball to the tight end. If you have a bad quarterback, you're not getting the ball to your number one receiver, who I don't think is that great, by the way, Drake London. And guess what? If you're not winning games, you're not fucking running the ball too much with a rookie running back. Now, would I have ran him more? Yes, I would have. Do I think that was part of the problem? Yes. But like normal coaching thoughts are, this guy's a rookie. We're going to ease him in. But it all revolves mostly around Ridder. So now, is Arthur Smith a great head coach? No, I don't think he is. Should he have been canned? Yes, I do. I believe he should. Do I think Arthur Smith's a bad running backs coach? No. And that's where this whole thing stems from, because I told Rock yesterday that I wouldn't mind a guy who has experience in head coaching, because guess what? On our fucking staff, on the fucking Jets coaching staff, we got one guy with head coaching experience. That's fucking jerk off Nathaniel Hackett, who was probably the worst head coach of all time. So and he did it for what? One season? How long was Hackett in there? I don't even think he made it the whole season. It was 10 games.
Yeah, it wasn't a full season. You're right.
So to have a guy in the building that did it for what, 2-3 years, Arthur Smith, has knowledge, worked with a guy like a Rabel, like has worked with running backs like a Derrick Henry, to bring him in to say, hey, we would like you to coach Breece Hall. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I would like, Bill Belichick to come in and coach my linebackers. That's not how it works. He's not going to go from offensive coordinator, head coach, running back.
If you want to coach, he's not going to get an OC job. So where's he going to go? Unless Rabel brings him in.
He'll sit. He's not going to. I would be highly, highly, highly shocked if he goes and and takes a job for a position coach. It's not going to happen. He'll be Vrabel's offensive coordinator. If Vrabel gets hired, that's where he'll go. If he doesn't get hired, if Vrabel doesn't get hired, Arthur Smith's probably sitting on a bench. Or there are certain teams like the Browns, or a couple teams that are still out there searching for an offensive coordinator. So, who knows? Maybe he'll land with fucking Harbaugh in LA. I doubt it. But there are OC jobs available. He ain't going to coach running backs. He ain't going to coach tight ends. He ain't going to coach wide receivers. Not happening. So, unless you want to make him your OC, which we all know that's not going to happen.
That's the Jets. That's a better point. But if you made him like run game coordinator, assistant to the OC, because our OC is
head coach or something, fine. I mean, maybe, but he's got to have some type of title. He's not going.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
Well, it should be. You should fire this guy. They keep talking. They name this guy Nat Hackett. Why do people call him Nat? It's not Nat. If it's not Nathaniel, what's the name? It's Nate.
Nate. Yeah. Who calls him Nat?
Fucking Nick Wright and Coward. They all say Nat. What the fuck does Nat mean? you know.
Maybe that's his nickname because he's a fucking annoying little
He's
fucking
an asshole.
fly.
So all right, so that's that's where I think I'm telling you, I think he's going to go with Vrabel, right? So that's it. And like I
Who?
said, my
Seattle?
Arthur Smith. If Vrabel's in
Oh.
Seattle, I think Arthur Smith will be Seattle's offensive coordinator.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. And Dan Quinn, like I said, I'm going to put my money right now on Dan Quinn comes back to Dallas. But
I agree with that.
All right, so that was the coaching.
Let's get into these games, man.
Oh man, I really do want to pick these games. Let's do that first. Let's pick the games first, then we'll get into the juiced up segment. And I have also, I got some juicy shit.
You gotta close out. Story?
I gotta get. Yeah. Oh God, I do. So, well, let's pick the games first, and we'll get there. All right, Scotty. Now, as we said before, 2 absolutely huge games in a championship weekend. To me, I really believe that they could have showcased the Chiefs and the Ravens in the 6:30 matchup, but no, they put them at 3:00. So the first game of the day.
He's so mad
Baltimore, because that's the game. Detroit and San Fran is going to be, to me, a blowout. So I don't know why that's the night game. But we got, and let's just hope that it's not. Hopefully, we got 2 more great games that we had. Oh my God, last weekend was 4 great games.
The real reason why it's like that is because California, that's their prime time.
Yeah, I love the world.
Everyone's going to be working. Everyone's going to be working if they played early.
The world,
I guess it's the weekend,
California.
so you shouldn't be working. But it's still prime time. I don't know.
I mean, I just think that they got the games mixed up, but no big deal. Now, let's go with your picks first, okay? I want you to tell me what you think the game is going to be, who's going to win, and what's the score.
For which game? The first one?
Yeah. Baltimore, Kansas City.
Baltimore? I think Baltimore wins, all right? Okay. I really do.
All right.
But I am not going to disrespect Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
All right.
So if you put a gun to my head and said, who you taking for the spread, which is Baltimore by -3, so Baltimore Baltimore by 4. If that's the case, then I'm taking Kansas City. Okay. Because I think Mahomes covers within the 4.
Okay. But you ultimately
if we were doing straight up, if we're doing money line, if we're doing pick 'em, I'm taking Baltimore all the way. I think you got to take Baltimore. Okay. I just think they're the better team. We got to look at this from a perspective like, I know Lamar hasn't really done much. I mean, realistically, up to this point, he's done the same thing he's done in the past: win 1 playoff game. He did it this year. He did it in his past. He beat Houston, and now this time, who was the team they just beat?
Houston.
See that? So if we could see Lamar beat anyone other than fucking Houston, than the Houston Texans, then I'm going to change my opinion on Lamar Jackson. I think he's a great quarterback. I just don't have him in my top 5, to be honest with you. But if he wins this game, he's got to be. He has to be.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I think right now Baltimore's the better team. I think they got the better defense. I think Lamar's dynamic with his legs. I don't trust Kansas City wide receivers. I think the wide receivers in Baltimore are playing well, and I just think it's going to be a hell of a matchup.
Hey, here's a question. Here's a hot question. This is a tough one. Who's got the better coach?
I like John Harbaugh better, but Andy Reid's a hell of a coach, man. Andy Reid's a hell of a coach.
I'll take John Harbaugh.
I like John Harbaugh better, but Andy Reid's a hell of a coach. That defense though, they're something, man. They're a fucking wagon.
Is a top 4 defense. So is Baltimore. So this is going to be interesting.
So points it's all the metrics though. It depends on how you look at the defense, but based on points allowed, Baltimore is 1, Kansas City is number 2. Yeah. So this should be a battle. But I just think like Kansas City shouldn't be here. Like I said, I think Kansas City, they play Miami. In Miami, they don't win. I think if Stephon Diggs catches that ball, they don't win. But then people can turn around and say, Mecole Hardman doesn't fumble the ball 20 times in a game, then they probably win as well.
You're exactly right. You could look at it either way. I'm going to tell you right now, I see a tight game just like you do. I think we're going overtime.
Overtime.
Yeah, I think we're going overtime. And I think Baltimore and Justin Tucker bangs one home in overtime. I think they both get a possession, and they don't score. And I think Baltimore kicks a field goal to win it. I'm going to take them. And so I guess I would be taking KC +4. I also like Baltimore to win. I like John Harbaugh as a coach better than Andy Reid. I do. Both defenses are fucking phenomenal. This is, I think, the key to the game. Mike McDonald is a young, vibrant, young guy in the defensive coaching ranks. Okay. You have an older guy in Steve Spagnuolo with the Kansas City Chiefs. Who comes up with that one fucking scheme on one drive? Who comes up with the turnover, right? That really, really, really matters. And I think it could potentially even come in overtime. But I'm going to put my eggs in the home team, MVP Lamar, best coach in the league to me right now, John Harbaugh. I'm taking the Ravens. Tight game. Tucker hits a clutch one, and they go to the Super Bowl.
Hey, real quick, I do want to mention two things. One, we got Mark Andrews making his debut back after coming off that injury, which is huge, I think.
Huge.
But secondly, I know Spags is a hell of a DC, but I do think he can be a little aggressive. And when you're going against Tom Brady, when you're going against a lot of these guys, when you're going against even Tua, there's a lot of guys that
Burrow.
is Burrow. When you're going against these certain guys, like it makes a difference. You can't be aggressive against Lamar Jackson.
No, you can't.
He will burn you.
Yep.
So I'm just afraid that if Spags gets a little aggressive, you might see Lamar go for $120 on rush in this game. And that's what scares me.
Yeah, I think it is going to hurt the Chiefs a little bit. But Lamar always gives you the opportunity, maybe two, for you to pick one off. And Kansas City is very opportunistic on defense, so we'll see. All right, Scotty, give me your thoughts on the next game. Detroit, San Francisco.
So I think San Fran wins. I think San Fran covers. This opened up at 6.5. It's moved to 7.5. And for those who are keeping track, the money is on Detroit. The public is on Detroit. Sorry. So what that's saying is, why is it not moving? It's moving in the wrong direction, which tells me, and I will say this, Vegas has been on fucking San Fran's nuts all season. For whatever reason, they've been giving the Niners a crazy spreads, like as far as favoring them all season.
Sure.
So Vegas has been in Niners' corner since day one. But to me, it is a little telling. And I personally think that Detroit's a great story. I think they're a good club right now. But the two things that bother me. One, Jared Goff in his turnovers. He has not shown to turn the ball over in this postseason, and that's great for him, but I think he's due. And San Francisco is very familiar with Jared Goff with his time being on the Rams in Los Angeles. The second thing that bothers me is we're all hip and hooray about Detroit's success in the playoffs this year.
Yep.
They play dog shit teams. The Rams probably shouldn't have made the playoffs. And I know they were everyone's sleeper pick going into the postseason, but the Rams are just not a complete team yet. The Bucks got in the fucking playoffs by beating the Carolina Panthers 9-0. Yeah. They couldn't score a fucking touchdown against your fucking Panthers here. So, as much as they were credible wins, a playoff win's a playoff win, and they're NFL teams, and they both played well against the Lions. I mean, both teams were not that impressive of wins to me. I think the Niners started off a little rusty, and I think they get going today or this Sunday. I think they get going, and I think they come out with some firepower.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you, as we'll see. I don't think it's close. I really don't. I'll tell you what. I think Detroit is a phenomenal story, and you know how much I'm a Barry Sanders fan, and how I love the story between the Lions and a team like that. But here's the thing, man. I think the fucking train stops here. I think, like you said, I think Goff is due. If I had to bet, it would be more of a crumble from him than a step up. against the Niners in the competition that San Fran brings. Dude, I think the one piece of the San Francisco team that it really all rides on, it's your boy, Rocky Boy. Okay. If Purdy can just stay the course, and if you look at his playoff stats, he had a shitty game against the Cowboys statistically, but he didn't have a turnover last year. But other than that, he doesn't have a turnover in the postseason. And if he can keep that going and get this offense to just work the way they want it to work, this defense, I believe, will eat Goff alive. And I think this is going to be a blowout. So
can we
San Fran by 21? Yeah.
Can we address that real quick? Why is the internet destroying Brock Purdy?
Because he's the last pick in the draft, and he's not your flashy, player. Here's what I think the problem is, Scotty, with what people have with Brock Purdy. They don't like when you're inserted into the right spot. Like, they just don't like it. Like, just imagine, okay? Like, let's take Jordan Love.
It's like people are jealous that he found a good situation.
That's what it is. Like let's just say Jordan Love, right, started his rookie year. There was no Rodgers, and they had the team they had, fucking Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and all these studs, right? You think Jordan Love would make the playoffs the first year? Of course he would, because they were so fucking good, right?
I don't know about that, but go ahead.
Here's the thing. This happened back in the day with Big Ben. Big Ben got all the shit fucking on him with Pittsburgh. The first year they went to the playoffs, right? They almost won a Super Bowl his first year. So, the fact is that when you get inserted into such a perfect scenario and nobody saw you coming, he's the last pick in the draft. All these fuckers are pissed that nobody saw him coming, right? So, and I honestly believe that Brady had a little bit of that in the beginning too. But not as much as this, because of it's 20 years later. You got all this social media, you got everything all day, bing, bang, boom. But Brock Purdy does still have to prove it, just like every other quarterback does when they get to the postseason. Prove that he's not the weakest link.
To that point, Brady won 3, and then had the season where he went in off with the Randy Moss year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was still in a bar in San Diego defending Tom Brady being a better quarterback than fucking Dan Marino, believe that or not. Like, people still thought he was along for the ride. And I think the Randy Moss year was the first year people started to change that thought, but it didn't even happen overnight. It's like he had to still do well again after that.
Yeah.
But Brock Purdy,
it still took 10 years from winning another Super Bowl. You're right.
Yes, and here's the thing, though. That bothers me, though, is Brock Purdy has only been playing for a season and a half, dude. He hasn't even played a full 2 seasons.
I know.
He's gone to two NFC championship games.
Yep.
And it's like, look, plenty of Niner quarterbacks have had good teams in the last few years that have not gotten to where he's gotten or done what he's done. Because even if you want to say, oh, well, Jimmy G got there. Yeah, guess what? Jimmy G didn't lead the fucking league in basically every passing statistic in the league.
Yeah.
Like, he's not even dumping it. He's leading the league in pass yardage attempts. It's like over 9 yards a pass. So, I don't know what we're talking about here as far as this guy can't get it done.
It's all about what he's going to do in the postseason, and he did everything that he could last year. Of course, they took him out. I believe it was Hassan Reddick or was it Brandon Graham who tore his elbow last year in the Eagles playoff game there, the NFC Championship. He played 3 plays or something. But
I think he played 2 series. He played his second series.
He's got to do it if he's going to shut everybody up. He's got to do it, and he's got to be a reason. Steve Young. Same thing with Steve Young. Everyone said, he couldn't do it. He has all this fucking great pieces around him. He's not that great, blah, blah, blah. Once he won Super Bowl 29, the monkey was off his back. And so Purdy's got to do the same thing. Shanahan's got to do the same thing. Quite frankly, I mean, Shanahan is
I agree.
folk artist. Okay, so he's got to do it too. But we'll see. I think they're going to handle Detroit, and I don't think it's going to be really
something to look out for. And we'll get into a little bit of it on my juiced up. But the Niners do struggle with stopping the run. And I don't think Detroit can stick to the run because I think Detroit's going to get behind. But they got a 2-headed monster over there in Detroit with Gibbs and Montgomery. So
sure. Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. And Amon St. Brown, I mean, he's a fucking animal over there. He's going to tear him up too. Now, You can have Ahmad go for 100 yards, and you can have Gibbs and Montgomery have a hell of a day and still smoke Detroit. You just got to make sure you're doing your thing and you're keeping everybody else in check.
Yeah,
And that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit, the Sun God is definitely Goff's go-to guy, but they're going to know that. And
Hell of a nickname, by the way. I love it.
Love it. So they're gonna. I think they're not gonna be able to lean on the run game as much as they want to. And it's you put it on Goff's shoulders. I'm not gonna bet on him to win that game. So,
Agreed.
all right. So here we go. So now I know you're fucking itching and chomping at the bit to get to our juiced up segment. Scotty's gonna hit you with a bunch of his betting.
One or two.
One or two, yeah. For the 2 games of the weekend. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, now where do you want to start? Because I think you got a big list here. And I think we might as well.
Hey, look, let me just start it off by saying you don't have to take any of these. I'm not telling anyone to bet any money they don't have.
Okay.
I'm not saying anyone you have to put $50 to $100 or $200 or the mortgage on any of these bets. I'm just giving a sprinkle of things that I like. So there's not going to be like one anytime touchdown, one this. I'm going to give you like 3 or 4 of each thing. And,
he's going to give you options. He's giving you fucking options.
Now, am I taking all these? Probably.
You probably will. I'll tell you.
I'm up on the year though, brother.
And that's why what you're gonna do, you're gonna make everybody money. I'm gonna get myself out of the way here because you know me. I like to stay away from this as much as I can, but I got a feeling. And I picked a guy in each game that I really feel like is gonna get in the end zone. And if you want to put a little parlay together, I know a couple of them are the real high favorites. I don't give a shit. You want to win money or you want to lose? I don't care about long shots. You know, just if you're going to parlay something, you at least got to put at least a favorite or 2 in there. And I like Lamar to get in the end zone for the Ravens. I think Travis Kelce gets in the end zone for the Chiefs. Could be potentially his last game ever. So I think he's going to play his balls off. Christian McCaffrey is a shoe-in to get in the end zone for the 49ers, maybe if not once, 3 times. And then I think at the end, I think with Detroit, if Detroit does score a touchdown, which I think they will, who's going to, who do they have to get it to, to maybe accelerate the next season and all that? I'm going to say Jahmyr Gibbs. So there's mine. Lamar, Kelce, CMC, and Gibbs. Ladies and gentlemen.
The only thing I don't like about that parlay, I want to hear
it.
It's not a bad parlay, a very good parlay. The only thing I don't like about it is Kelce. Kelce has not been himself this year. Kyle Hamilton is number 1 in coverage in the NFL as far as safeties go. I don't know if that. I don't even know if that includes all secondary, but I know for sure in safeties, he's probably going to be the guy on Kelce all day. So
we're going to get him freed up.
I think Kelce's going to get fed though. So you're going to have opportunity. So that's why I still like it.
All right.
Pull up some shit here and we'll go.
Anytime touchdowns. Who do you got?
I like Isaiah Pacheco, the old Rutgers boy. I mean, he runs with attitude. I feel like every game this guy's getting in the fucking end zone. So I think that's a surefire right there. I also like Zay Flowers. He seems to be one of Lamar's favorite targets when he does throw the ball. And I think Lamar's going to have to throw the ball here every so often here. Lamar Jackson. I have given up on, I feel like for weeks, I would not pick Lamar to get a touchdown or I'd be under on his rushing yards. I'm done with that. This guy burns me every week because every fucking week he's like Josh Allen. He gets in the end zone. So I always think that's a safe bet. You can always pepper some Lamar.
He's getting in for sure.
Rashee Rice. I think he's become the number 1 target next to Kelce on Kansas City. I know they got some pieces over there that they've been throwing to. But to be honest with you, as we've seen all season, a lot of them have been kind of dog shit. And I don't like Kelce against Kyle Hamilton. So I think Rashee Rice is going to get a lot of looks this week.
Okay. Now, you also have, so that's your anytime touchdown list. It's 4 dudes, 2 on Baltimore and 2 on Kansas City. I want you to now get into some of your props.
Well, that was a prop, but here's more props. Mark Andrews, I think, makes a big return. I think he gets at least 4 catches in this. I think they're going to feed him some shit. Now, I'm hoping he's not hobbled out there, but they said he was almost ready to go last week. So I'm expecting him to come in a big way. I almost got scared with the Laporta when he came back, and I didn't touch his receptions, and they fed him the ball. So I'm not getting burned twice. I think Andrews has a decent day.
Yeah, I think they saved Andrews a little bit, and they knew that they were going to take care of Houston and then make sure that when he comes back, they're going to need him for the championship game.
I agree. Lamar Jackson over 67.5 rushes. Again, I saw this number and I said, Jesus Christ, this is a big number. I don't.
This is tough.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, it's a tough.
Bro, the guy went for a buck against Houston. Now, I know this is not Houston. This is Kansas City.
Yep.
And they got a hell of a good defense. But like I said, I expect Spags to get aggressive, and I could easily – here's the thing. All I need is Lamar to run the ball 2 or 3 times. This guy gets like 30 fucking yards a clip. Yeah. So if he scrambles out of like 2 or 3 pressures, you probably got a hit right there.
Yeah, my argument with this one is I think Spags' game plan is going to be to contain this motherfucker in the pocket. And I don't think he's going to get a ton of those looks, to rush for a shit ton of yards. Do I think he's going to get in the end zone when they're close? Yes. Do I think he's going to get 68 rushing yards? That's tough. I'd probably take the under on that one or not touch it. Your last one for this game, Scotty, goes to the Chiefs.
Bro, we're talking about the best quarterback in the National Football League right now. I can't disrespect the man. I think he throws for at least 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
I have to.
Yeah, and let's just hope that's Kelsey and Rashee Rice, baby. I'll tell you that. All right, now let's get to Detroit and San Fran. Looks like you like 1 anytime touchdown for San Fran. We'll get to that here in a second.
And this is one of the reasons, too, why I think people got to understand what Brock Purdy brings to this offense. If you look at Jimmy G when he was on this team as the starter, George Kittle was not as productive because they don't throw the ball downfield as often. George Kittle's one of those tight ends. He's like a fucking receiver. And ever since Brock Purdy's been inserted, George Kittle's gone off, and George Kittle's been one of his favorite targets. I like George Kittle to get in the end zone this week because I think they have to kind of make this offense run.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Especially with Debo banged up. I don't expect Debo to get a ton of looks because they're going to save that shoulder if they can.
Now this, ladies and gentlemen, this is my favorite right here. This next one coming up. This one is my favorite prop of Scotty's, and I can't wait to watch the game to see whether this comes out or not. Scotty, you take the floor with this one.
So I'll say this. The Kansas City Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens game is kind of the one game I don't want to get crazy about this because I don't know, the yardage is high. But all postseason, I've been making a shit ton of money on these quarterback props as far as rushing yards because for every game, it's been like 5 to 7 yards. Dude, it's the playoffs. Everybody scrambles. I like Jared Goff over 1.5 rushing yards. This motherfucker's got to take a step forward, and we hit this guy. So
I want to meet the guy. I want to talk to somebody. Seriously, that took the under on this. I need to. I want to see it.
I'm sure Jared Goff has probably a history of with fumbles and stuff of running the ball backwards. I mean, I'm sure he's done it.
Don't take it then. Don't take it.
Not in the playoffs, though. Not in the playoffs.
I'm saying don't bet it. Like, what are you betting the under for? You know, I think this bet is the one I'm going to be the most attracted to the whole fucking day. I want to see if this happens, and we're going to take it all the way down to the wire because honestly, a 2-yard sneak gets this thing.
What's going to kill me is he's going to get 3 yards, and then at the end of the game, they're going to be like kneeling the game. They're going to kneel the ball, lose to it. Motherfucker.
All right, so now talking about rushing yards for the Detroit Lions, it looks like
I love me some Jahmyr Gibbs. So this is an alternate spread, I believe. I think he's listed at like 65. I think 50 to 60 is right in his wheelhouse, but I like to make money, and the odds aren't going to be as great, but I love Jahmyr Gibbs to go over 50. Like I said, San Fran's not the greatest against the run. The reason why I don't like to go a little higher than that is because I don't think they can stick to the run all game. I think by the second half, they got to have Jared Goff throwing this fucking ball.
Okay. All right.
And with the same over CMC, the worst odds in probably all of football this year is going to be CMC's rushing yards and CMC's touchdowns. Now, of course, this is an alternate as well. I went 70 yards because I think it's way the fuck up there. I think it's at like 85 or something for him. But again, I think he's guaranteed to get X amount of yards, and he's always good for a touchdown. Just the odds aren't as great. Just depends on if you want to take it or not. But I love CMC to go over 70. I think it's like he rolls out of bed and runs 70 fucking yards.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're not bored, or I hope you're not looking for this to be the end of the segment, because we still have 3 more picks for you. Talk about this one.
Hey, Sam Laporta is my dog, dude. I love this kid. This might be my favorite tight end in the game right now. So he's a monster. He's been playing hurt all season. I love him to go over 5.5. I was taking his yards the last few games, but this piece of shit always likes to stop like a yard or 1 to 5 yards short of whatever he's.
I love this guy. He's my dog, but
he's a piece of shit.
Fucking doesn't get my yardage.
Yeah,
I
no.
love this shit.
But I love him on the receptions. I think Goff's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly with that pass rush. So I like a lot of Laporta this game.
Okay, I think he's the next Kelsey. I think, especially in the fantasy
he's
land,
incredible.
He'll be the number 1 tight end for the next 10 years. All right, last 2.
This one is more on if you want to take a guy who's more of an underdog, but it's got great odds. It's like plus 700 or something for this. 2.5 receptions. Jared Goff and Reynolds. They have a connection. They came over both from Los Angeles. So I feel like he likes to feed Reynolds. I don't know why it's so low. Maybe just because of who they're playing, but the Niners aren't the greatest against the pass deep balls anyway on outside the numbers. So I could see Reynolds getting a couple looks.
Yeah. Okay. And I would agree with that. I think that's his dog.
Yeah.
But here we go. Here's your last one of the day.
And then last one, if I think Kittle's going to get a tutty, I also think he's going to get at least 5 receptions. So, I mean, I would definitely sprinkle something on. You get both. You can even parlay them. I don't see a game where Kittle's only getting the ball 3 or 4 times. So we'll see. Like I said, I expect Debo to play, but he's going to be banged up. And I think if they get a good enough lead, I think Debo will be out there more for deception opposes actually getting the rock. So that means Ayuk and Kittle and probably a little Juwan Jennings sighting is what we're going to get more of opposed to the Debo. So it kind of ups your odds on what you're going to get.
I think there's going to be plenty to go around with San Francisco. But again, this could be a 3-touchdown CMC game. So
could be.
So, I'm thinking honestly, my man, I think I love it. I think everybody is going to love it. With your picks, like you said, you have been.
I've been hot, baby. I've been hot.
You're up on the season, so that's huge. So,
and I play the props like I play roulette. You got to kind of sprinkle the field. If you just dive all into one, if you don't get it, your night's over. So I like it. This covers my loss. That covers my loss.
You got to sprinkle it.
Yeah, you got to sprinkle.
Sprinks.
You just sprinkle enough to hope you hit the big one. And if not, you make enough to survive for the next hand.
That's it. And this is, some people, that's their fun. I love watching the game and I love critiquing it. I love dissecting it. I love watching quarterbacks, line play, all that kind of stuff. I don't need to get into the betting and all that kind of shit, but it is such a huge thing now that they're getting every Tom, Dick, and Harriet from fucking down the street.
I can't believe the commercials I'm seeing. All of it, dude.
It's unreal. The
insane.
NFL
I love it.
Is smart on that end. You're going to get all these people who either didn't watch it before or they kind of casually watched it and didn't give a fuck. Now you got people that are obsessed with it that wouldn't have normally been. So kudos for them. But I think it's going to be the fucking demolition of the game at some point.
I never bet what I can't afford, though. And what I usually do is start off very small during the season. And once I get my my bankroll up, then you start spreading it out over these props in the playoffs or whatever. Then I'm playing mostly with house. But if I lost everything tomorrow I usually use FanDuel. If I lost everything tomorrow on FanDuel, I break even. So I make sure I'm playing with my winnings.
Yep, absolutely.
Got to be smart about it.
All right, baby. No, but this was good. This was good. I can't wait for the weekend's games.
Yeah,
and
it'll be a good week.
well, it's should be Baltimore and San Francisco in the Super Bowl, and then we got a full 2 weeks to get ready for this puppy. But let's hope these games are fantastic. Again, I hope Detroit can stay in this game and make it fun, but I don't think so. But
Can you
other than
imagine
that,
though, if Detroit wins?
Oh.
Holy shit!
if they can if they can pull off that upset, the city of Detroit will be at the Super Bowl. But Scotty, you got anything else for us?
I got nothing, man.
All right, baby. Well, listen, until next time, we're going to get with you guys probably Monday. For Scotty G, this is Rocco B saying see you later and sayonara.
Adios.